So, hello everyone, welcome to the Kuma community call. Please add your name to the attendee list and also feel free to submit any agenda topics you'd like to discuss today. Yeah, we will start with an upcoming release. We want to release patch Kuma 1.7.1 that fixes some issues. I think this is timeout policy problem. If you apply timeout with external service, it didn't actually work well. And also, if you deleted timeout, I think there were some crash happened in the control plane for gateway. So yeah, these bugs fixed, and I think something else. Charlie, do you remember anything else?
From the top of my head, no.
Yeah, so some bug fixes, we're going to release it soon, I guess, next week probably. And another thing to discuss today, not discuss, just announce that a new policy matching was finally merged. It's been a long time. We had a lot of iterations on this document, and we finally agreed on something. So you can read it if you haven't done it yet. So yeah, please get familiar with the document. And I think this is it from my side. We can start with the questions from people. We have a lot of people today on the call, so please ask your questions.
Okay, Greg, I think you had a bunch of questions about tokens, right? We talked a little bit about this.
Yeah, I had a few questions randomly around token management, specifically like the data plane tokens. I'm working on a side project where I am in the process of developing a plugin for Vault that will, for HashiCorp Vault, that will be able to manage the tokens. Essentially, you would take the root token and register it in this plugin with the configuration and point it to your control plane API. And then it would be able to use the different Vault auth methods to then be able to manage those tokens and the TTL times on those tokens. So a user could request a token based off of their policies, and then the root token would issue that to them. But then also for services, we could do the same thing for services where we could use something like IAM or a different method where the service could then request access to the data plane. But one of the things is I was digging into the documentation, it does, although the tokens are JOT tokens and have a lifetime, they don't, it doesn't appear that they currently, that's just for joining the data plane. So once you're joining the data plane, once your token expires, you're still in the data plane. So, and I was talking to Jacob on that, and there appears to be some like an issue up there where it was talking about essentially how to handle the revocation of and expiration of those tokens, and kind of where that is and how that looks in the current state of Kuma.
Yeah, so that is correct. That right now, if your data plane proxy token expires, then, well, like we do the authentication only on the first discovery request, and then we check if you did not change your authentication data, right? just to kind of save this process, which is especially expensive on Kubernetes with a service account token, because you need to do the token review and so on. But yes, that is true that we could improve this. One workaround for this one is that you can always like restart your control planes, or
Yeah, that's what I was going to
do
ask you. Can
something
you
else
like
to-
sig up the control plane? Like so like if I'm running the side container, well, yeah, trying to figure out how could I like bump that refresh?
Yeah. So I think it's not about refresh, it's about forcing the data plane proxy to reconnect to the control plane, right? Because
Right.
if the data plane proxy reconnects to the control plane, then we need to go over this authentication process. So yeah, one of the things you can do is just restart the control plane, right? Which is of course not ideal, but it is a workaround. And the same thing with revocation. So revocation is checked only when we do the authentication on the first XDS request, right? So which I think is documented that you need to restart the data plane. If not, we need to improve this doc. But yeah, again, you add the token to a revocation list, and then, well, you need to force DP to drop this connection.
So right now, currently, if I revoke a token, will it disconnect that service from the data plane or no?
Yeah, no, not at this moment. So you would add this to a revocation list, and then you restart the control plane. So again,
Okay.
it forces the reconnection, and then
Can you do that via the API? Well, say, can I do that via the API? Can I add them to a revocation list and then bounce it? Like, can I do that through a call?
Well, you can use the API to add the token to a revocation list, but if you want to force the reconnection of the data plane proxy, then you need to restart CP or DP if you like, if you can, right? So like it's up to you which option is more suitable if you are a mesh operator. Yeah, so there's a current approach. Of course, the better idea would be to be more dynamic about this change, right? To actually drop the connection whenever there is a change on the revocation list. So there is an issue open. If you have a little bit of time, we would be very happy for this contribution. We can also help with this.
Yeah, definitely.
To kind of guide you.
What if we limit the duration of the connection between proxy and control plane to reconnect from time to time?
Yeah, I was also thinking about this because it's beneficial for the load balancing perspective, right? So let's say you have like 3 instances of the CP, right? And then you want to scale this up. So we scale to 4 instances, but you know, all DPs are already connected via this one gRPC channel. So they just want to reconnect, right? To this 4th instance. So you either kill all control planes or, well, or only rely on the fact that the new connections will be round robin to all the instances, including the 4th one. So yeah, that's also one of the solutions to kind of drop the connection every now and then if there is, well, no traffic, right? So we won't disrupt any exchange. And then this would, in a way, solve this problem of revocation and token expiration, because every now and then we would have to trigger this authentication again, right?
Yeah, because like one of the things that I want to drive with kind of this provider is the ability to have shorter lived service tokens and have, you know, the agent be able to request a new one when the TTL of the existing one gets there. So then be able to kind of swap the token. So then the next time it would kind of reinitialize with the newer token, right? Like that's kind of the way that I'm looking to drive that aspect of it. But then also if for some reason, like the plugin itself could manually, you know, tell the service like if you revoke the token, I want to be able to also kind of revoke the token via, if I want to like close all the leases on the token in Vault, I want to be able to make a call into Kuma that would then do the same thing. Add the token to the revocation list, and then it would, when it went to go re-up, I guess in that frequency you were talking about, it would then kind of be disconnected from the data plane.
Yes, yeah, that's one option. Yeah. Okay, one question to this one. Have you thought maybe about doing this in other fashion, which means that the Vault plugin would issue new data plane tokens, right? But the CP would only verify those tokens. So the data plane proxy tokens and user tokens are signed with the RSA, right? So you have a public key and a private key. So technically, if we were to make an assumption that CP is only responsible for verifying the tokens, right? It would only need to have the public key and not a private key, which is, again, a win for the security, right? Because then the CP does not have a private key. And then the Vault plugin would have both for like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now we kind of like, we did not implement any like logic to explicitly handle this, right? But since the token is signed with the RSA 256, it is a potentially an option to kind of implement this, which is, again, I think a bit nicer, right?
Yeah, because that offloads that aspect to Vault, which is what it does best, and then it lets the control plane just verify and kind of relieves it of that responsibility. Yeah, I like that as well. So
okay. So I don't know if you are writing this plugin, we could like, I think it's a little bit more work probably to go in this way, right? But at the same time, it is a nicer way. So I don't know, we could also draft some proposal or whatever, how to implement this, right? So yeah, so we would have this option.
yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. Like right now with the current workflow, what I was attempting to kind of do is still kind of, again, offload, try to keep secrets in our secret storage. So like put the root, I was looking at potentially putting the root token, putting the Kuma root token right inside of Vault, and then having Vault be able to rotate that token on its own. So then it's the only one who knows that token, right? So it's completely hidden from any users, and then you still would have to. I think that's a decent approach right now with the current workflow. But if we could completely offload the certificate or the token generation into Vault, and then just have the public key be in the control plane, I like that. And then, so then how would we would still have to implement the data plane checking, right? Because the data plane, well, how would we then implement how we would revoke access to the token, to the control plane at that point in time?
Okay, so if we would do this separation, then the control plane would have to be configured with the public key of with the public key of a signing key of token, right? Because right now, like, we have a signing key that we sign every single token with.
Right. Yeah.
And then, well, so right now we have a private key and a public key, like in the control plane, right? In the Kuma secret. But if we provide just a public key, this can be even like a static plain text configuration in the control plane config, because it is just a public key, right?
Right.
So then you kind of bootstrap the control plane with your own signing key. So the bootstrapping phase is a little bit different, because right now is that you start the control plane, you extract the admin token, and then you do all the operations, right? If you
Right.
have your own signing key, that's slightly inconvenient, because you need to replace the signing key somehow, right? And with this approach that we can provide a public key only, it's very easy to just start the control plane with the static configuration, right?
Correct.
So then the assumption is that the vault has a private key, which is a pair of this public key, right? And then you kind of accept the tokens that are generated in vault.
Right. Yeah. So then so I guess in that point in time, you would just create even shorter lived tokens that would need to be refreshed more often, because you would just validate that the token had a current lifetime and validate its accuracy. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for the revocation, the process is the same then, that you need to have an access to manage this revocation secret, right? So you need to be an admin, and then, well, then you add this token ID in revocation list. And
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Which would just block it until it expired. And then once it expired, it could be purged from the revocation list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. All right. Yeah, I like that. So what does that entail? How much work does that entail on the Kuma side?
Okay, on the Kuma side, to be honest, it's pretty straightforward. When we did changes to a data plane token, we sort of had this thought in our head, but we didn't kind of implement this, right?
Okay.
We would need to introduce new configuration in the Kuma CP, right?
Right.
To provide the list of a public keys to a data plane token and user token. And then we would need to implement an interface called validator in the token package. So that would be like a validator that uses this public key and not the private key, right?
Yeah.
And also probably a good idea would be to sort of block the creation of the private key in the control plane and block the APIs to generate the tokens. So it's kind of explicit.
Yeah, it's like in a full read-only mode, right? Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So that would handle that. And then but then also we still need to add the piece into the data plane, right? That would be that constantly rechecks its ability to connect to the right, or I'm trying to think of. Does anything need to change in the data plane to handle the like when you're no longer valid, like when you get added to the revocation list that terminates your session, or is that all in the control plane?
That's in the control plane. So regardless of the option, you will implement this plugin,
gotcha.
if this will be an online signing or offline signing, right? The revocation problem is like a separate thing to
right,
to implement.
Correct. All right. Yeah, I mean, in this use case is leveraging like Vault for this, but really this opens up for any sort of other key PKI type of solution, and to be able to offload it, right?
Yeah, I remember we talked in the PR somewhere, I don't remember where, a long time ago, that we could also do like a token signing, like offline token signing from Kuma Cattle, right? So Kuma Cattle generate data plane token, would somehow accept the private signing key, and then just generate token without even going to the control plane, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, that was my kind of big thing. I'd like to love to sync up with you guys on this. So.
Yeah, okay. Do we have anything else? Questions?
We have new people with Daniel and Vyacheslav. I'm sorry if I destroy your first names. Do you mind sharing a little bit what you're trying to do with Kuma? It's always useful for us to know.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to meet you. So
Hi.
today the very first time we joined your meeting, and yes, we're doing some kind of multi-service mesh integration using our network service mesh, and we integrated it with Kuma, and maybe in August I'd like to share a demo to you, and for sure it will be useful to get your thoughts about this, and maybe we could have some kind of collaboration based on it later. So it's at this moment it's more likely a startup in our company. And yes, so if you don't mind, we will join maybe next meetings just to meet you closer, and maybe also could be helpful later.
Yeah, feel free to join again if you want. And if you have if you want a specific slot for a demo, we usually have time, but it's always better if you it's a bit of a heads up anyway. So we can make sure we keep a space and we put you in the agenda.
Yep, sure. Vyacheslav, do you have something to add?
No, I think you described everything. But hello, everyone.
Okay, great. So Vyacheslav is more involved in technical details, and just having a general review. Okay, that's basically it.
Yeah, can I ask how is it going so far? Or did you just start with the project?
Vyacheslav, could you share where we are now?
Yeah, it's kind of working, but I think it needs a little bit more polishing before showing it to you, because I think it could be improved before doing a demo. So I think maybe in August, I believe, at least, it will be done. So it will work even better than now.
Okay, great, cool. I'm looking forward to seeing this integration.
Yeah, by the way, do you have integration with the other service meshes?
Yep, honestly, we have integrations with console, Istio, and another variation of console, which is mostly in progress this moment.
Yeah, by the way, you can reach out to me directly. We used to work together on the network service mesh, so feel free to write me about the demo and we
Yeah, sure, Ilya. Nice to meet you again.
Yeah. Are you in the Kuma community Slack?
Not yet.
Yeah, I think there is a link on the website. You can you can find it, I think, as community, and there is Kuma workspace, so
Yep.
you can
Mhm.
go here and ask.
I
Okay,
saw it. Yeah, thank you.
2 minutes left. Anything else? Any questions? If there are no more questions, I think we can wrap this up. So thank you, everyone, and see you in a month on this community call. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.